Let me ask you something personal. Do you remember the last time you woke up and your eyes just felt clear? Not gritty, not scratchy, not like someone had rubbed sandpaper across them while you were sleeping. Because for so many of my patients, men and women who are 60, 65, 70 years old, that feeling of waking up with fresh, comfortable, clear eyes feels like a distant memory. They describe it to me in my office, and I can hear the frustration in their voices. They talk about squinting at their phones in the morning before their eyes warm up. They talk about road signs that seem a little fuzzier than they used to be. They talk about sitting in the passenger seat at night because driving after dark feels genuinely frightening. Because oncoming headlights don't just look bright anymore. They explode into these blinding star-shaped bursts that make their eyes water and their heart race. And here is what almost every single one of those patients says to me next. They say, "Doctor, Martin, I guess this is just part of getting older." And every single time I hear that, I have to take a breath, because I need you to really hear this. That statement is one of the most dangerous things I encounter in my medical practice. Not because those patients are wrong to feel the way they feel, but because the belief that declining vision is simply an unavoidable consequence of age keeps people from taking the specific, targeted, science-backed steps that could genuinely protect their eyes and restore a level of function they thought was gone forever. Today, I want to talk to you about what is actually happening to your eyes while you sleep. And then I want to give you something practical. 7 specific fruits that when eaten before bed in the right way, at the right time, following the right rules, have the potential to work with your body's own overnight repair systems to support healthier, clearer vision. This isn't folklore. This isn't someone's grandmother's home remedy. The mechanisms I'm going to walk you through are rooted in published research, in biochemistry, and in the kind of nutritional medicine that is only now starting to get the mainstream attention it has always deserved. So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about what is genuinely happening inside your eyes while you think you are simply resting. Your retina, the thin, light-sensitive tissue lining the back of your eye, is one of the most metabolically demanding tissues in the entire human body. It requires more oxygen per unit of tissue than almost any other organ. And here is the part most doctors don't tell you. The majority of the structural cellular repair your retina undergoes happens at night, during sleep, when the visual system is relatively quiet and resources can be redirected toward restoration. This makes the nighttime hours critical, not just for rest, but for biological maintenance of your eyesight. But for many people over 60, 3 destructive forces are actively working against that overnight repair process. The first is oxidative stress, the accumulation of free radical molecules that damage the delicate photoreceptor cells in your retina. Think of it like rust forming on the inside of your eye, gradually degrading the very cells responsible for your ability to detect light, color, and fine detail. The second is chronic, low-grade inflammation. This is the kind of inflammation you can't feel, the kind that doesn't cause pain, but slowly disrupts the tiny capillaries that feed your retina with blood and nutrients. And the third, and this one is critical, is retinal hypoxia. That's a medical term that simply means your retina is not getting enough oxygen. As we age, and as those small blood vessels become less efficient, oxygen delivery to the retinal tissue declines, and tissue that is oxygen-deprived cannot repair itself effectively. It cannot regenerate. It deteriorates, slowly and silently, in the dark. Now here is the good news that I wish every physician would share with their patients. Over 60 specific plant-based compounds found in specific fruits can directly address all three of those mechanisms. They can reduce oxidative stress at the cellular level. They can calm that hidden inflammation. And several of them can actually improve blood flow and oxygen delivery to the retina itself. But the timing, the preparation, and the combinations matter enormously. So let me walk you through each one. The first fruit I want you to think about is kiwi. And I'm going to be specific here because the type of kiwi matters. I want you to choose golden kiwi, not the standard green variety. Golden kiwi contains significantly higher concentrations of two compounds called lutein and zeaxanthin. Now, you may have heard those words before, maybe on the label of an eye vitamin supplement. But I want you to understand what they actually do inside your body. Lutein and zeaxanthin are carotenoid pigments that concentrate almost exclusively in the macula, the central region of your retina responsible for your sharpest, most detailed vision. They function, quite literally, as natural sunglasses for your photoreceptor cells, filtering out damaging high-energy blue light wavelengths before they can cause oxidative damage to the rods and cones. When the concentration of these pigments in the macula becomes too low, which happens gradually with age, the photoreceptors become progressively more vulnerable to oxidative damage. That is one of the early driving mechanisms behind macular degeneration. But golden kiwi offers something else as well. It contains significant levels of serotonin. Yes, the same neurotransmitter associated with mood and sleep. And research has shown that serotonin supports your body's production of melatonin, which in turn regulates the sleep-dependent cellular repair cycles that your eyes rely on. The protocol here is 2 golden kiwis, eaten approximately 1 hour before bed. And here is something most people don't know. Do not completely peel away the skin near the flesh. The outermost layer just below the skin contains a concentration of antioxidants, including vitamin C and flavonoids, that you simply don't want to throw away. The second fruit on your list is watermelon. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Isn't watermelon just mostly water? Yes, actually, that is part of the point. Chronic cellular dehydration is one of the most overlooked contributors to dry eye syndrome and degraded tear film quality. Your tear film, the thin fluid layer that protects and nourishes the surface of your eye, requires adequate hydration to maintain its structure and function. Watermelon, with its nearly 92% water content and its natural electrolyte balance, supports that hydration at the cellular level in a way that simply drinking a glass of water does not replicate. But watermelon's most important contribution is lycopene, a potent carotenoid antioxidant with a particular affinity for protecting lipid-rich tissues, including the membranes of your retinal cells. What makes lycopene especially interesting in the context of eye health is its relationship with nitric oxide production. Lycopene supports the bioavailability of nitric oxide in the blood vessels, including those tiny capillaries feeding your retina. And nitric oxide is the molecule your blood vessels use to relax and widen, improving blood flow and oxygen delivery. Think about it. Better blood flow to the retina means better oxygen delivery, and that directly addresses the retinal hypoxia I described earlier. I want you to eat 2 to 3 cups of fresh watermelon before bed, and I need to give you one absolute rule. Do not add salt. I know some people grew up adding a pinch of salt to their watermelon, but sodium will counteract the very cellular hydration benefits you are seeking, and it will also cause vasoconstriction, meaning it tightens the blood vessels, which is the exact opposite of what the lycopene is trying to accomplish. Third, I want to talk about black currants. These are less common in American grocery stores, but they are worth finding in health food stores, specialty markets, or as frozen fruit, because their concentration of a specific class of antioxidants called anthocyanins is among the highest of any food on Earth. Now, anthocyanins, in simple terms, are the pigments that give deeply colored berries and fruits their rich purple, blue, and black colors. And inside the retina, they do something remarkable. They support what researchers call dark adaptation. Dark adaptation is your eye's ability to adjust from bright light to low light conditions. When you walk into a dimly lit restaurant, from a bright afternoon outside, or when you try to navigate your home in the middle of the night, that ability to adjust and see in low light is dark adaptation at work. As we age, this process slows down, and many people over 60 find that driving at night becomes increasingly difficult precisely because their eyes struggle to adapt quickly to changing light conditions. Clinical research on the anthocyanins in black currants, particularly a compound called cyanidin-3 glucoside, has shown measurable improvements in the speed and quality of dark adaptation in human subjects. The proposed mechanism involves improved optic nerve blood flow and enhanced regeneration of rhodopsin, the light-sensitive pigment in your rod cells responsible for low-light vision. Aim for approximately 1/3 of a cup of fresh or frozen black currants before bed. And remember, do not add cream or milk, for reasons I will explain in detail in just a moment. Now let's talk about blueberries. But again, I want to be specific because the type matters. I want you to choose wild blueberries rather than the larger cultivated variety you typically find in supermarkets. Wild blueberries are smaller and contain a significantly higher concentration of antioxidants per gram, including a compound called pterostilbene. Pterostilbene is a close chemical relative of resveratrol, but it has one property that makes it uniquely valuable for eye health. It can cross the blood-retinal barrier. The blood-retinal barrier functions similarly to the blood-brain barrier. It is a highly selective biological filter that prevents many substances from reaching the retinal cells directly. Most antioxidants don't make it through. Pterostilbene does. And once it reaches the retinal tissue, it acts as a direct cellular protector, reducing inflammatory signaling and protecting the mitochondria, the energy-producing organelles, inside your photoreceptor cells. Here is a preparation technique I want you to use, the freeze-thaw method. Take your wild blueberries, freeze them overnight, then allow them to thaw before eating. The freezing and thawing process ruptures the cell walls of the berries, and this significantly increases the bioavailability of the pterostilbene and other polyphenols, meaning more of these compounds are absorbed into your bloodstream rather than passing through undigested. About half a cup before bed is ideal. And I need to give you a strict warning here. Do not pair blueberries with dairy of any kind. No yogurt, no milk, no cream. The research on this is clear, and I will explain the full mechanism when we get to the rules section. The fifth fruit is dragon fruit, and this is the one I use specifically to address retinal hypoxia in my patients. Dragon fruit contains a class of pigments called betalains, the same compounds that give beets their vivid color, and betalains have a remarkable effect on microvascular function. Specifically, they promote the dilation, the widening of the tiny capillaries that supply blood and oxygen to your retinal tissue. For a retina that is chronically oxygen deprived, this improved microvascular circulation can be genuinely therapeutic. Choose the variety with red or pink flesh rather than white, as the red-fleshed variety contains significantly higher betalain concentrations. I also want you to pay attention to the seeds. Dragon fruit is filled with small, black seeds, and most people swallow them whole without thinking about it. I want you to actually chew those seeds deliberately. The seeds contain omega-3 fatty acids, the same anti-inflammatory fats found in fish oil, and chewing them releases those oils for absorption. Omega-3 fatty acids are structural components of the photoreceptor cell membranes and are critical for reducing the chronic inflammation that damages retinal tissue over time. Now we come to goji berries. I want to spend a moment here because goji berries are one of the most important foods for one specific problem that affects a significant percentage of people over 65: macular thinning. The macula, as I mentioned, is the central zone of your retina. Over time, the cells in the macula thin and degrade, and this is the process that ultimately leads to the blurred central vision. The inability to read fine print and the difficulty recognizing faces that characterize age-related macular degeneration. Goji berries contain the highest dietary concentration of zeaxanthin of any food yet measured, and zeaxanthin functions as the primary component of what researchers call the macular pigment shield, the biological filter that sits at the center of your retina and absorbs damaging light wavelengths before they can reach and destroy your photoreceptors. Rebuilding that shield is one of the most important nutritional targets in the prevention and management of macular degeneration. The preparation protocol for goji berries is important. Take 1 to 2 tablespoons of dried goji berries and soak them in warm, not boiling, not cold, but warm water for approximately 15 to 20 minutes before eating. This softens the berries and makes the zeaxanthin and other carotenoids more accessible for digestion and absorption. Now here is something that surprises most people. Pair your goji berries with a small piece of dark chocolate, at least 70% cacao. The healthy fats in dark chocolate significantly enhance the absorption of fat-soluble carotenoids like zeaxanthin, and the flavonols in cacao provide their own independent anti-inflammatory and vasodilatory benefits for retinal circulation. This is one of those moments where eating well and eating enjoyably are not in conflict. And now we arrive at the 7th fruit, the one I consider the most important of all, and the one I want every person over 60 watching this to hear clearly. The fruit is papaya. And to understand why papaya earns the top position on this list, I need to explain a process that most people have never heard of, a process called glycation. Glycation occurs when excess glucose molecules in your bloodstream attach to proteins and damage them. The damaged proteins that result are called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. And one of the most vulnerable proteins in your body to glycation damage is crystalline, the protein that makes up the lens of your eye. When crystalline proteins become glycated, they lose their structural integrity and begin to aggregate, forming cloudy clusters inside the lens. That cloudiness is the beginning of cataracts. For people with even slightly elevated blood sugar, which includes a large percentage of people over 60, glycation is actively clouding your lenses right now, tonight, as you sleep. Papaya contains a remarkable enzyme called papain. Papain is a proteolytic enzyme, meaning it breaks down damaged proteins. And published research has demonstrated that papain has the specific ability to help break down and clear advanced glycation end products, supporting the reversal of early protein aggregation in the lens. This is not a metaphor. This is an enzymatic biochemical process. But here is the critical rule. Papaya must be eaten at room temperature for the papain enzyme to be active. Cold temperatures denature the enzyme. They shut it down. And a cold papaya pulled directly from the refrigerator contains inactive papain that will do nothing for your lenses. Add the juice of half a fresh lime. The citric acid in lime juice activates and enhances the papain enzyme's activity. And once again, do not add dairy. Eat roughly 1 cup of room temperature papaya with lime juice before bed, and you are giving your body one of the most powerful anti-cataract nutritional interventions available. Now, I need to stop and spend time on the 5 rules that determine whether any of this actually works, because the what you eat matters, but the how you eat it can be the difference between real results and 0 results. Rule number 1. Absolutely no dairy. I have mentioned this several times, and here is the full explanation. The calcium and casein protein in milk, cheese, yogurt, and cream form molecular complexes. They essentially bind with lutein, zeaxanthin, pterostilbene, lycopene, and nearly every other fat-soluble antioxidant I have described today. Once bound to casein, these compounds cannot be absorbed through your intestinal wall. They are effectively deactivated, rendered bioavailable by 0, and excreted from your body without ever reaching your retina or your lens. This is not a minor concern. Adding a splash of milk to blueberries does not slightly reduce their effectiveness. It substantially eliminates it. No dairy, none, with any of these fruits. Rule number 2. Always pair these fruits with a source of healthy fat. Here is why this matters so much. Lutein, zeaxanthin, lycopene, beta-carotene, and the betalains from dragon fruit are all fat-soluble compounds. This means they literally require the presence of dietary fat in your digestive system to be absorbed. Without fat, they pass through your gut largely unabsorbed, regardless of how much fruit you eat. A small handful of walnuts provides the ideal fat carrier for these compounds. A few slices of avocado work beautifully as well. A teaspoon of cold-pressed olive oil is another excellent option. This is not optional. Without healthy fat in the same meal, you are missing the majority of the benefit these fruits offer to your eyes. Rule number 3. Wash your fruit gently. I know this sounds minor, but hear me out. Vigorous scrubbing, particularly with rough vegetable brushes, removes a significant portion of the polyphenol-rich compounds that concentrate in and just below the skin of fruits, like kiwi and blueberries. A gentle rinse under cool running water, using your hands rather than a brush, preserves those surface antioxidants. And as I mentioned with the kiwi, do not peel too aggressively near the flesh of the fruit. The transition zone between the skin and the inner fruit is nutritionally valuable. Rule number 4. Serve your fruits at room temperature, not cold. I explained this in the context of papaya and the papain enzyme, but the principle extends further. Many of the beneficial enzymes and heat-sensitive polyphenols in these fruits are partially inactivated by refrigerator-cold temperatures. Taking your fruit out of the refrigerator 30 to 45 minutes before you plan to eat it is a simple habit that preserves the full enzymatic and antioxidant potential of what you're consuming. Cold fruit is less biologically active fruit. And rule number 5, perhaps the most underestimated rule of all, timing. Eat your eye health fruit protocol 60 to 90 minutes before bed, not 2 hours before bed, not right before you fall asleep. The 60 to 90-minute window is specifically calibrated to align with the beginning of your body's sleep-associated tissue repair cycle. During the first stage of deep sleep, which typically begins 60 to 90 minutes after you fall asleep, your body increases growth hormone secretion, reduces cortisol, and activates the cellular repair pathways that your retina depends on for overnight maintenance. If the lutein, zeaxanthin, lycopene, and other compounds from your fruits are absorbed and circulating in your bloodstream, when that repair window opens, they are available to the retinal cells exactly when those cells are most actively engaged in the work of restoration. If you eat the fruit too early, those peak blood concentrations have already begun to decline by the time your repair cycle begins. The timing is the mechanism. Now, I want to speak to you honestly about what to realistically expect and when to expect it. Because one of the most common reasons people abandon good nutritional habits is that they expect dramatic results too quickly, don't see them, and conclude that nothing is working. Some changes happen quickly. Many people report a noticeable reduction in morning eye dryness and irritation within 24 to 72 hours of beginning this protocol consistently. That's the hydration from watermelon, the anti-inflammatory effects of the anthocyanins, and improved tear film stability showing up rapidly. That kind of feedback is real, and it is encouraging. Pay attention to it. But the deeper structural changes take longer, and I want you to understand why. Rebuilding the macular pigment shield with zeaxanthin from goji berries is a gradual process. Research suggests that measurable improvements in macular pigment optical density require sustained intake over 60 to 90 days. Protecting and partially reversing the early glycation changes in your lens with papain requires consistent enzymatic activity over weeks and months, not days. Improving the concentration of lutein in the retinal tissue takes time because the body first needs to break down and clear existing damaged cellular debris before rebuilding healthy structure. And enhancing retinal microcirculation through the beta lanes and lycopene is a cumulative vascular adaptation that progresses steadily over 8 to 12 weeks of consistent intake. This is not a protocol for impatient people, but it is a protocol for people who are serious about protecting something that matters deeply to them. 60 days of consistency is not a long time when you consider what you are protecting: your ability to read, to drive, to look across a table and see the face of someone you love in full, clear, vivid detail. Think about that for a moment. Think about what your vision allows you to do. It allows you to look at your grandchild's face and see every expression: the joy, the surprise, the love. It allows you to watch a sunset and perceive the full spectrum of color that makes it magnificent. It allows you the independence of stepping into your car with confidence, knowing you can navigate the world safely on your own terms. Your vision is not just a physical function. It is your connection to the world around you, to the people you love, and to the life you have worked so hard to build. And I refuse to accept, and I hope after today you will also refuse to accept, the idea that slowly losing that connection is simply the price of getting older. You now have the information. You have the 7 fruits, you have the 5 rules, and you have the honest timeline. The question is simply whether you will act on it with the consistency that it deserves. Before I let you go, I want to be clear about something important. Everything I have shared with you today is educational information. It is meant to inform, to empower, and to give you science-based tools to support your eye health through nutrition. It is not a substitute for professional medical care. If you are experiencing significant changes in your vision, please make an appointment with your ophthalmologist or optometrist. If you have been diagnosed with cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, or diabetic retinopathy, please discuss any nutritional changes with your managing physician before implementing them. The fruits I have described are safe for most healthy adults, but your individual health circumstances matter, and your doctor knows your full picture. Please treat this as one powerful piece of a comprehensive approach to your health, not as a replacement for the professional care you deserve. I'm Dr. Clarence Martin. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Every video I make for this channel comes from a genuine belief that the people watching it, people like you, deserve honest, clear, actionable health information that respects your intelligence and your desire to take care of yourself. Please share this video with someone in your life who is struggling with their vision and who has been told it's just their age. Because now you both know differently. Stay healthy, stay informed, and take care of your eyes. They are irreplaceable.